Welcome to CoatingsCast, the ultimate podcast dedicated to the science, art, and innovation of liquid and fluid applied roofing, coatings for surfaces, and waterproofing. It's time to roll up our sleeves, put on our lab coats, and dive headfirst into the world of liquid protection that keeps your roofs and surfaces in prime condition. The future is here, and it's liquid, so don't miss out. This is CoatingsCast, where every drop counts in the world of roof and surface protection. Hello, everyone. Welcome to CoatingsCast. My name is Megan Ellsworth here at coatingscoffeeshop.com. And I'm really excited today because we're talking about the new WUI regulations. That's the Wildland Urban Interface regulations. And we're here with Pli-Dek. So hello, how are you?
Hello, Megan. It's wonderful to be back here with you guys again. I missed you guys. We are also joined with our head person in our company is Adrienne Malek.
Yes, we have Jan and Adrienne here. So, Adrienne, why don't we start? Have you introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about you.
My name is Adrienne Malek. I am currently the VP of Product Management for Cementitious Coatings, which includes Pli-Dek. And I have had the opportunity to be part of the Pli-Dek family now almost 13 years. So very excited to be here and get to talk about the product with you.
Wow, that's amazing. Okay, Jan, introduce yourself.
All right. Well, I've been around a little bit longer than Adrienne. I don't know if you can tell that, but it's been 46 years with me. I'm the guy that invented Pli-Dek back in 1979, and I've been here ever since. It's part of my baby, and I don't think I'm ever going to retire. So currently, I'm a consultant for Pli-Dek. I do a lot of seminars for architects and consultants and applicators and builders. That's my job, to make sure everything's is installed right, and product development, as well as testing, as well as writing specs and details for different jobs and stuff. So that's what I do now.
Wow. Amazing. Well, I'm really excited to have the inventor here chatting with us and the head boss in charge. So let's dive right in and talk about what trends in fire safety you both are seeing right now in the decking and coatings industries. And can you also explain what WUI zones are?
So WUI is defined as you had stated, Megan, as Wildland Urban Interface. So what this is it's where our residential and commercial communities hit natural reserves, forested areas, etc. So it's kind of where the interface between nature and man happen. So what it has done, and as even the world has heard over the years, as our fire seasons continue to get even more severe, especially within California, right? And so as the destruction has increased because our urban population has continued to increase, more homes, people also wanting to live, let's call it, out of the city, if you will. They want to be out into nature. They want to be off the grid. We're seeing more and more residential and commercial buildings that are destroyed or have gotten damaged. So they have created a map that has now been in existence for a while that rates the severity of the fire zones based off of literally an address, but based off of what took place in January of this year and the horrific fires that happened in LA County and the Palisades. Governor Newsom is now expanding those zones. So certain areas that would have been rated as moderate or high may now be severe. So they're going to continue to release maps county by county throughout California until they feel that they have this covered. It's not just due back up to a forest. It also is related to weather concerns or issues. What is the severity of the wind that comes through your area? So if a fire sparks, how bad could this be for you? Things of that nature, too, are all taken into consideration when they're planning these fire zones. And we're now seeing states outside of California starting to adopt it as well, just as a precaution or better to be safe than sorry type of atmosphere going on. So Bagnall has invented a product back in 1979 that met certain fire criteria already. So Bagnall, if you want to jump into, your Class A 1 hour and now the extended E84 that got us the WUI listing, that would be awesome.
Well, we started back in 1979. There was 2 ASTM tests that you needed to take, and one was for a 1 hour rating. And the 1 hour rating burns underneath the decking system that you're putting in your roofing or your decking system. So it has to be softened with either stucco or drywall. And over living space, it would be drywall. That would pass your 1 hour, which is called an ASTM E119. The Class A, which burns from the top side of the assembly, is called the ASTM E108. That involves 3 different tests that you have to take. One's a spread of flame, and an intermittent flame, and a burning brand. The burning brand is pretty intense. So for years and years, we've had that rating, which was, the top of the chain. The food chain is what we had as that. But then in 2008, the state fire marshal decided to have a high fire zone test taken. In 2012, they started implementing with decking systems. So since 2012, we've had requirement to have a high fire zone rating as well, which involved a test called ASTM E84. So that's the new one that we've had since 2012. So we're talking, 13 years now that we've had that rating. A lot of guys failed to comply, and they were getting around it, and some guys were getting kicked off job sites. So Pli-Dek has always been the pioneer in making sure testing is done right and giving it to the architects to make sure that they're covered. We had our WUI, and it's currently listed under their website right now. The category that we're listed in their directory is under 8110. We're 2327 is our specific number. So you'll find us there. And then anybody that you're required when you have this test now, that you have to have that on your labeling of your product. Either it's on a product that's made, or you haven't put it on a bucket or a bag. It has to be listed as a WUI approved.
And I think that what a cool badge to put on your products.
Absolutely.
That's what a sense of pride that yes, my product is, protecting these homes or protecting these areas, these commercial buildings from potential fire damage.
And the nice thing from a consumer perspective, if you look at it, even being homeowners ourselves, right? Or renters, is in order to keep compliancy with this, we have to have quarterly inspections. So those people that turn around and decide to use our product at any time know that we have surprise or scheduled inspections that take place every quarter that make sure what we tested our system with has not changed, right? It's still the exact same product. There's nothing going on there, and they can feel assured each year and every quarter that this continues to take place as well.
Yeah. Yeah, that's huge. So, okay, kind of going back, what are some trends you see moving forward with these fire ratings, and especially in the decking and coatings industry? What do you see going here on out?
I would say, Jan, and please correct me if you think that I'm going off the rails here, but I think that it's going to be trying to move in as much as possible to non-combustible. Some of the peel and sticks that we've seen before, all of these things are going to become a thing of the past, especially with, once again, how continuous and destructive we're seeing this going on. Nobody's going to be able to sneak past things anymore. So I kind of feel like they're going to, why not take the road of least resistance, which means anything that we know that doesn't even meet the basic criteria of a Class A or 1 hour should never be allowed. And then making everything have to pass the WUI moving forward, even if it's not in a high or severe fire zone, right? Why not? If I'm a builder, why would I not want to turn around and do the best of what's available in the market to not have to worry about any of those restrictions later? So I think from our perspective, Bagnall, from a waterproofing system, cementitious is going to be the way that they're going to continue to move forward, or it's going to be alternative products, right?
Yeah.
I just think some of the other tried and true or go-tos that they've had for all of these years now are just going to be going by the wayside within areas where this is a concern.
Mm-hmm.
Back in the day, I started as a roofer as a young kid, and they used to have wood shakes and then wood shingles, and nobody cared. I mean, everybody was just, you can look where we're at today, and you don't see any kind of roofs that have wood shakes on them anymore. But the fire codes keep getting stricter and stricter. And unfortunately, it took them a while to get to where we're at now, because, a lot of people have lost their homes. And even the Pacific Palisades, we have the two big fires we had this last year in Southern California were Pacific Palisades and Altadena, where 30 people actually died. We had 30 people that they lost 6,822 structures. So it's not a small problem. It's not something you can brush under the rug. You got to look at this thing and say, hey, this is what we're here for, is building and safety is what the building departments are responsible for. And when they see something that's unsafe, they're now doing their best to say, we got to do the right thing. And this also meets with architects and consultants. I mean, you always want, as an architect, you always want to write in the plans the right specification, because they have liability too when they don't cover themselves with certain criteria and certain approvals that they have to have. So we're trying to make it good for everybody, not just for Pli-Dek, but for safety and for the building departments and the builders to do the right thing.
And some of what I think is now making it easier, some of the trends, to your point, Megan, is you need to make a quick option for people to understand. So building material listing based off of the California State Fire Marshal, them having a website that someone can easily go to and look up, to Bagnall's point, the 8110 category for decking, and see who's approved. There's no he said, she said, or I thought I was doing it because so-and-so told me. They're now making it, if you have to meet the stringent criteria or you want to exceed what your requirements are from a building perspective, but you don't know where to start, they've now made it super simple. Go on the website, see, it tells you who's active, who's renewed, what systems are approved, which ones aren't. So it takes a lot of the guessing work out of it. So to Jan's point, if I'm a consultant or an architect, I know if I see this product and this manufacturer listed here, I'm safe if I put it into my spec.
Yeah, that is so important. Like you said, ease of use, ease of finding that information, and clear, clear, what's the word? Oh man, I'm
almost like rules and regulations, right? Like there's no guessing involved. Yeah.
Yes, there's no guessing involved. Yeah. And the builders, the homeowners, the building owners, everyone knows like these are the products we need to use. Yeah. Because like you said, to your earlier point too, why not have everything Class A fire rated?
That's the whole thing. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, the importance of these two from a consumer perspective, or being the occupant of these buildings, is the 1 hour allows me, and is supposed to allow me, 1 hour to get out of the building before it starts to spread to a point. Right. And then Bagnall, you've also got the spread of flame, then you've got the smoke. You have to meet a certain criteria so that you can still actively be able to, from a safe perspective, get out of the zone. Obviously, the first thing you do when something gets on fire is you get out as quickly as possible, right? Yeah. But if something is prohibiting you from doing so, this allows me to know from a safety perspective that, I have X period of time to get out, or I know that I built this to the best standard to make sure that these multifamily residences, especially condos and apartment complexes, these people are given the best opportunity to be able to get out. A majority of the deaths that Bagnall talked about, they said happened during people trying to evacuate or waiting too long to evacuate, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So when you think decks, you think balconies and roof decks maybe, but there's also walkways. So you walk up a stairway and then there's a walkway that goes around the entire building. And like Adrienne said, you're all of a sudden you find out there's a fire, your fire alarm's going off, you open your front door, and if your deck's on fire, what do? You start jumping out windows and stuff. So you have to have that assembly 1 hour rated so people can, and Class A, you don't want the material on fire. You don't want the fire to come up and burn through the deck and it's on fire. You can't walk out to the stairway or to the elevator, but in most cases it would be a stairway, but you definitely want something that's going to make, gives the people some time to get out and get away from the fire.
Yeah. So you're mentioning this 1 hour test, and can you kind of break that down compared to the 30-minute ASTM E84 fire requirement, and what the differences are? I guess just time.
Well, this was, we were introduced to this by some of the architects asking us, about this WUI, and we didn't quite understand it because we figured we had the Class A in a 1 hour and we already had everybody covered. And then we found out about a 10-minute test on a couple of the big projects that we had, that we went out and got this test taken and passed. Then a couple of years later, they decided that, unbeknownst to even maybe the state fire marshal when I called them up in California here, that it went to a 30-minute test. I'm going, who decided that? So originally, I guess the 10-minute test wasn't good enough. So we came back and took the 30-minute test as well and passed that, which is a little bit more difficult to do. I don't know why they decided to upgrade it, but when you talk about fire, any kind of an upgrade is always a smart thing to do. So hopefully,
that's when we talk about the 1 hour ASTM test too, Megan, there's a misconception there that we're burning for 1 hour. It's a calculated math, right? So when we take that ASTM test, there's a certain time period that we're doing it, to Bagnall's point, either from the bottom up or the top down from a burn testing perspective. then they do a math calculation. Now, what they've done with the E84 is they used to do that calculation on a 10-minute period only. They said that's no longer good enough, right? We now want to see you stay consistent for X time period, the extended now 30-minute test. If you can't keep that, it's no longer a calculation, right? So they're making more stringent. We're not going to continue to just go by a calculated risk factor. What we're going to do is say, we want to increase the time we see you in the burn chamber to see how your product performs. Then we'll turn around and do the math calculation afterwards. Okay. So the actual time that you're in the burn chamber itself has now been extended.
Okay. So it was 10 minutes and now it's 30.
Correct. There's those type of expansions that have taken place.
Got it.
Right.
Yeah. And I mean, like Jan, you said, I mean, that's a great thing. Right? To keep preventing these just devastating fires like the Pacific Palisades one. So what challenges do you see contractors face when they're trying to meet these new stricter fire codes?
Not knowing who is an approved manufacturer and what system to install. That's the first thing. I think Bagnall gets a ton of calls where all of a sudden they've been kicked out of permits plan, or a consultant showed up on a job, shut the job site down. They thought that they were doing what they were supposed to do. There was some type of discussion that took place and they thought that they met the current building code criteria for wherever this was going on. That's why it's so important that they go and do the research. Check it on the website to make sure. But I would think that that's going to be, especially as the fire zones continue to expand now over this next year, I see that as the first obstacle that is that they should be trying to be proactive on. Before I get out to the job site and order my product, let me just go ahead and check to make sure that this is compliant. If it's not, start the discussion then, versus getting caught halfway through installations or halfway through a project.
Yeah.
So you look at, back in the day, the governing body that had all the codes and compliances that they enforced was called ICBO. That has since changed. Excuse me. Edit that out. That has since changed to ICC. So you look at the whole premise of ICC governs the codes, and everything seems to be important. I mean, we do different tests with freeze thaw, with accelerated aging, with perm rate. So many different ASTM you take, but the most important one out of all those is going to be the fire test. Yeah, the other ones you're not going to die of. You're just going to get mold and mildew and maybe some deterioration of the decking system. But in fire, it's life or death. So there's always a governing body that has all the different codes you have to comply with. And what Adrienne says is true. It's educating everybody, architects, consultants, builders, what they need to pass or what they need to have as an approved system in order to put it in their assembly. So that's important. So this is going to become more important because obviously the fires are headlines for months and months out here in California. And it's not just this one year. I mean, we had in Napa Valley a few years back, it was crazy where they had even more people died and more people lost their homes. So it's not just a one-time thing that's changing the codes. It's almost Pacific Palisades was on fire. It happens every year. So the more we become educated, the better and more safe we're going to be.
Yeah. I mean, I grew up in Central Oregon where, I mean, there's wildfires every summer. And now I live in Colorado where there's wildfires every summer. Yeah. And I've, traveled to California a lot where there's wildfires year round now. And it's heartbreaking. So the most we can do to prevent that, let's do it.
Exactly. Right. And this is only going to get worse because we're building more. We have a housing issue and a housing crisis in California specifically, right? I'm sure it's prevalent in other places. Too many people and not enough homes, right? Or residential type capacities. And so the only thing we can do is continue to encroach in on the available space or into these wildlife areas. So the more that happens, or the closer we get building to building, the more likely it is for a quick spread of a fire. Yeah. Okay. So if you can focus on the best non-combustible, non-flammable, those types of products, or those that give you the longest time period from workability, because then maybe you can get the fire out, right? Those happen. And so some of these ratings are important, not because of thinking that the structure that our system is on is the one that caught on fire. We're concerned about the embers that spread these fires over thousands of acres, sitting on a deck and catching it on fire, right? So it's also to allow first responders to try to get there and mitigate what's going on too.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'd love to know how the Pli-Dek F system specifically meets this code, and why is it such a strong fit for WUI jobs?
Bagnall invented a system that has been tried and true now since the end of the 1970s, that when these robust requirements came in from the state of California Fire Marshal to meet the residential building code, we were able to take an existing system that has been installed in the market now for over 40 years, put it through this testing and pass. So the nice thing is about the F system is the F system, as designed and installed per specification, meets all of those extended requirements. There's no alternative spec. There's no adjustment. If you've already been installing Pli-Dek all of these years, you continue to install the F system the same way you did in 1990, and it still meets the updated criteria today. Bagnall can go into more of like the robustness. He's invented a multi-layered system that allows it to not only be one of the best waterproofing systems in the market, but now it also meets some of the most stringent residential building code requirements as well. So
that's awesome. Jan, do you want to give us the nitty gritty on the F system?
Well, the F system involves a polymer cement that we put down early in construction. Right after framing's done, the contractor that we've trained is going to install sheet metal flashing around the perimeter at doors and walls to decks, and drip edge flashing, posts. We open up plywood seams to allow for expansion and contraction. And then we install a expanded metal lathing, which is a 2.5 grade G60, with a polymer cement, which is over 6,000 PSI. So it's as durable as you can be. So there's your fire rating right there. And then we put non-combustible products on top of that, which is, some fiberglass and resins, some other polymer cements that create textures. And then we have a colored sealer, they're all water-based products. Nothing's out there with any type of butyl in there or any type of urethanes in there that would catch on fire. So we've done our due diligence when we started this product to have something durable, to have something fire rated, to have something you can add slope to, early protection in the application. It took California by storm, and then it went from California all the way over across the country over there in Florida and everywhere in between. So educating the industry has been a lifelong project for me. I've had to talk to thousands of architects and thousands of builders and thousands of applicators that I've trained to learn. And exactly what Adrienne said earlier, I was an applicator. When I started this product, it was for me. I had 130 guys installing product, and I was thinking that's all I wanted to do was install the product. But next thing I know, we got specified so much because we had all these approvals that we took that nobody else had, that all the architects started spec'ing. I was like, I can't do every single job in California. So we started training other people to do it. And then I had to get out of the application business because I was running into the same guys I was selling product to. So
got it.
Unfortunately, I'm a big installer. I loved installing it, and it was very profitable for me. But I ended up getting into Pli-Dek, and knowing now that we were going nationwide took a lot more of my time to be able to travel. But been doing it ever since. So you've seen me for the last probably 35 years just training people, because I'm not an applicator anymore, but I do have a lot of knowledge on the application product. So I do train people in doing that because, I'm the guy that got all the bugs out. But what's funny is that when we first started this system, there wasn't that many things that we changed since day one. Gapping the plywood was one that we've changed, which was just a little bit better system. But basically everything we tested back in 1979 is holding true today. We did a lot of homework back then to make sure we covered all the bases. And with Pli-Dek, we cover all, like we talked about freestyle, and we talked about accelerated aging and perm rating, those type of bond strength and wind uplift ratings. So we when we saw all the different ASTM tests that we had to take to get a certified approval from, at the time, ICBO, and now it's ICC, we had to take that in consideration when we started inventing a product that needed to pass, what we could do to pass all these different regulations. And so that's why we invented Pli-Dek the way we did, to make it durable, to make it fireproof, to make it, water resistant and perm resistant type product. And that's what we've done. We've captured this market by putting a really, really good product out there.
And as Bagnall was stating, education is the key, right? Education and training.
Yeah.
So whether they're a consultant architect and we are AIA approved, and we will do those, we can do those in person or remotely. And then we have regularly scheduled contractor trainings as well.
Amazing.
So anybody can go to the website, send an email if they're looking to do it. They can call us on the phone. Our contact information is on there. And Bagnall will train them even if there's not something scheduled. So if there's a need and a want and a desire, we're always going to make sure that we make ourselves available, regardless of if it's a contractor to an architect or a consultant. We'll do it for everybody in between.
And what also works for architects is we give continuing education points that they have to take all this continuing education classes to make sure they're up to date on all the new regulations and stuff. So that's a good way for the architects. We end up buying them lunch and teaching them for about an hour real quick and getting them up to date on all the different codes, and they get continuing education points that Adrienne hands out to them.
Wow. And the contractors are easily able to get the product too, Megan. So you get trained and you're like, what do I do next? Right?
Yes.
Our technical experts are available to come on the job site with them. So they don't have to feel like they just went to one training and then they're on their own. We'll go to the job sites, works with them. And then we're in all major waterproofing distributors. So if they needed to turn around, most likely if they're already in waterproofing, they probably even have an account set up with these guys. And so it makes it easy for them to be able to also purchase and access the product as well.
Yeah, that's huge.
And a lot of times these builders that see roofers, which is our mainstay here in this podcast, that are on a job, this is actually called a waterproof walking roof. That's listed under our ICC report. So it is in the roofing category. And for some of the jobs that are out there, the builders like to see the roofers and the decking guys be the same contractor, as opposed to two different guys they got to work with. So
yeah, exactly.
It's a really good thing for roofers to have this as part of the repertoire, so they can go to the builder and say, hey, we're going to waterproof your regular roofs and your walking roofs as well, and get them. And that ends up always getting them more business doing that.
Yeah, that's a really great point. What a way to diversify your offerings as a business and your portfolio and just create more work and more jobs for you and your crews.
Some of the easiest ways for them to bring in or increase business is to be able to go after an additional spec that's on the project that they're already on, right? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you two have been absolutely amazing and so informational. This is such an important topic, and it's very close to home for me, and I'm sure for you two as well, with fire safety and everything that's going on with the WUI zone. So thank you so much for
being born and raised in SoCal for both of us as well, right?
Yeah, that's huge, and what a area that's just so prone to these fires. And same. I just thank you so much for educating me and all of our listeners on what's going on with the WUI zones and how they can kind of keep in front of it and be creating and doing the best work they can that's Class A fire resistant. So thank you for your wisdom today. Thank you for inviting us. We enjoyed it as well.
Thanks, Megan. It was nice seeing you again.
Yeah, so true. Likewise. So good to see you both. Everyone out there listening can also go to the Pli-Dek directory on CoatingsCoffeeShop.com to learn more and see where you can purchase in your local area some Pli-Dek systems. And then also everyone out there, please make sure you subscribe and ring the bell so you get notified every time we post a new episode. And we'll be seeing you next time on the next CoatingsCast. Thanks for joining us on this coding adventure. Stay tuned for more episodes, and in the meantime, be sure to follow us on social media to stay updated with all things roof coatings. Until next time, stay coded. For more information, go to CoatingsCoffeeShop.com.